There you go.
There we go. Niners win. Niners win. Niners win. Larry Krueger here, joined by Kev. We're here at the Superdome after the 49ers behind Mac Jones run their record to 2-0. Welcome to the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And this 49er football season is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use promo code Larry and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions apply. We'll talk about Sleeper in a bit. We'll talk more about a pig and a pickle in a bit, but we got to get to this game. The 49ers win on the road. Exciting game, 26-21. Mac Jones played really well, I thought, Kev. I mean, 26 of 34 or 39, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He did have the 1 turnover on the fumble. To me, though, what I really liked was he was 8 of 15, and we can check the box score here, but I think it was 8 of 15 on third down conversions. And that, to me, is a major part of playing quarterback. It's like, I think that's kind of the underrated stat. Do you keep your team on the field on third downs, or do you punt, trot off and hand it to your defense to, make a play and kind of save the day? So I thought Mac Jones really looked good. Unbelievably, Eddie Pinheiro missed a PAT, but then he redeemed himself with a 44-yard field goal. Juwan Jennings had a day. Upton Stout had a beautiful sack. CMC just keeps doing his thing. Bryce Huff with the forced fumble on the final possession. Kev, it was a great team win, 26-21. And of course we've welcomed in, we got the whole crew that we've invited. Frank Red, JD's going to join us, Rye Smith, Dan Coachemilio, and we've invited all of them, and we'll see if they jump into the stream. And of course, we'd love to hear from you in the chat. What did you think? Who would get your game ball? But Kev, I'll throw it to you for your takeaways.
First show in person live, sharing cameras here. So interesting setup. We're here in the Superdome. Nice setup. We're actually looking out onto the field right now. But yeah, great win. It was a similar ending. The game ended in a very similar way where the Saints have a chance to drive and score to win the game. And Bosa comes up big. I thought, starting off this game, it was a little rusty for Mac Jones. I actually said this earlier. I mean, maybe you don't remember this, but earlier this weekend, I was talking about this game, and I was thinking, there's probably a pretty good chance Mac Jones comes off a little slow, a little sluggish looking off in the beginning. But that last drive going into half, it was a great drive. He connected with CMC on a long third down play for the touchdown. The play before that, I think, or the third down before that, it was a deep pass to Pearsall. So 2 really good connections there. And yeah, Mac Jones.
What's a great I talked to Tom Pooney in the locker room about how the 49ers now are 2-0 with 2 different quarterbacks. And I'm like, Dom, how cool does it feel to be able to know that you guys can win games with not just one? I mean, some teams don't know if they can win with their starting quarterback, right? The Niners feel like they can win games with their starting quarterback or their backup quarterback. We had a lot of discussion this offseason about the Niners offseason. Hey, what what was the best move. And I kept maintaining in a number of streams with Raj and Grant and others that I really felt like the addition of Mac Jones was one of the best moves of the offseason because, and my thinking at the time was just, I really want to see Brock Purdy motivated because, it's like last year there was nobody there to challenge him. And to me, I think competition is the key to everything, really. Have success in business, if you want to have success in life, you better be competitive. A competitive trait is a good trait. And to me, Brock Purdy has that great competitive trait, but it's even better if you got somebody who can take your job sitting right there. And, Mac Jones is a former NFL starter. This guy's been a Pro Bowler. Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft. Mac Jones was the 15th pick in the first round. So there's a pedigree that comes with that, but you just never knew how was he going to adapt. And I thought that, to me, Kev, that the 42-yard pass play to Jennings, where he hit Jennings with a touch pass, right? It was a great. The one thing I love about Mac is I love quarterbacks that are accurate because, you always got a shot, that you always got a shot. And sure enough, Mac Jones hit Juwan Jennings in a field full of Saints defenders, just a little bit beyond, the first line of defense and a little bit in front of the second line of defense. And then JJ got on an angle and took it to the house. I thought it was the play of the game. And I thought from that point on, I kind of felt like this game was done.
A little NFL next gen stats here. Mac Jones completed 9 of 14 attempts when targeting the intermediate area for 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, a positive 10.4% completion percentage over expected. And now looking at the pressure percentages, he was pressured on 23.3% of his dropbacks. Last week against the Seahawks, Purdy was pressured on 60.5%. So a much improvement there. But on those pressures, he completed 4 of 6 passes for 60 yards and a touchdown. So Mac Jones under pressure played very, very well. What do you think?
See what was that muted the whole time?
You got to be careful.
Oh,
That's sensitive. That mutes it.
Okay. Is it muted?
No, you're good now.
Okay. Was I muted there the whole time? Oh yeah, look at that. Larry, your sound is off. Larry, you turned off the mic. Look at that. I think Kev's sabotaging me in here. No, what I was just going to say is they took out Ben Barch. He went down with the injury and they brought in Connor Colby. And then from that point on, I kind of highlighted, I watched a lot on the binoculars and I watched Colby up close. And, I don't know that he had a negative play. I'm really eager to see what the PFF grades look like on Connor Colby. First of all, he's got a real anchor. I mean, the guy has got a lot of power in his legs and lower body. And it just seems like, there's a reason this guy was a 50-game starter at Iowa and a really well-coached offensive lineman. I'll say this. I love Ben Barch, and I'm a big Ben Barch guy. I think Ben Barch is going to lose his job to Colby eventually. I think Colby's going to get this job. Colby's just very consistent. I really like the way this line looks with Colby and Pooney at guard. So I like Ben Barch, and maybe Ben Barch works his way back at the center position for Brendel. But, man, I'd like to see the 49ers go with Connor Colby. So that was one thing I noticed on the offensive side. The other thing I thought, the Saints didn't look sharp. I don't know what you thought, Kev, but they had 4 or 5 penalties in the first quarter. They just didn't look sharp. They made a lot of mistakes. I felt like the 49ers played a cleaner game and looked like the better coach team.
For sure. The Saints, they're not a good team. They're playing rattlers so that they can get the next great quarterback. That's, that's kind of how the Saints are playing right now. And when we were walking around town this week, there was not very much hope given to the Saints to win this game. But yeah, very sloppy game. There was a number of missed throws. Juwan Johnson, I think, had 3 or 4 drops. Spencer Rattler for sure had a couple of missed throws where he had a wide open receiver. So, this is a game where, the Niners squeezed by with the win, but for sure, you play a better opponent, and I'm not sure how this one turns out now. The Niners get the win. We're all happy here. I'm not going to sit here and complain about a win. That was a great win for the 49ers. But, yeah, the Saints team, tons of penalties. So you got to take that into consideration. On the ground game for the Niners, they were very efficient. I thought CMC was able to get a lot of good runs, move the chains. That was very helpful. I saw a statistic earlier. His success rate on rush attempts was the best of his career, believe it or not, even though it might not have seemed that way. So, good game overall. Saints, not a formidable opponent, but next week you got the Cardinals, who are, I think, playing right now against the Panthers.
The other thing Mac Jones did in this game is he had a beautiful 13-yard scramble, but he had, some other negative plays as far as rushing. So it looks like he only had 6 yards rushing, but he had a 13-yard scramble. Overall, I was really pleased with this performance. The other guy that I thought really had a strong performance was Mykel Williams. Mykel Williams did not do anything last week for the stat sheet. That was not the case today. He had 5 tackles. He had 4 solo. He had 2 tackles for loss. And all I can imagine is for the people who gave this guy a B or, low B or a high C for doing nothing last week. Wow. What would you give him this week? Because he did play quite a bit inside, and I thought he looked good inside. He had a pressure. He had a run stop. He is a big, strong interior rusher. And, I love the look. It's funny how we talked about so many different aspects of the 49ers this offseason, but we never really ever broke down the 4-man rush of Bosa and Huff off the edges, and then Yetur Gross-Matos and Mykel inside. And if you really think about it, Kev, I mean, that just gives the 49ers 4 really, there's not a run defender in the bunch, right? Bosa and Huff are going to hunt quarterbacks, and then Mykel and Yetur Gross-Matos inside are long and strong and quick, and way too quick for most guards. So I don't know. I'm eager to see what the 49ers look like down the road when they start to get leads on some of these teams. And they can put that 4-man line out there, because I think that 4-man line is going to give offensive lines fits.
Yeah, I mean, the Niners have guys on the defensive line. I thought Mykel in particular, there was a play, I think it was a tackle for loss on Kamara later in the game, where it's just a mismatch for any team where you have your tight end trying to block Mykel Williams. And Mykel Williams' arms are just too damn long. They're just too long. He long arms them, gets around him, makes the tackle. It's a great play. There was also a couple of plays that didn't even show up on the stat sheet. I thought there was one play where Bosa, I think, got the sack, and Mykel walked his guy back into the pocket, kind of muddying the pocket for Rattler, who couldn't really make a play there, and then gets the sack from Bosa. So Mykel looked great. Kalia Davis shot through the middle and made a couple plays. And again, all the plays from the defensive line, very timely, especially later in the game. So you'll love to see that. The Niners invest so heavily on the defensive line that you need to see production. And last year they weren't getting the production that they needed from the defensive line. This year they definitely do. Frank Red in the house.
I can't hear anything.
Red says he can't hear anything.
I can't hear anything. I'm sorry, folks.
That's all right. Well, it's on. Kev thinks it might be on your end. Maybe reboot and
Do I
come
need to
back
check my
in.
mic or something? I can't hear anything.
Yeah, let me. I'll put you in the back. I'll put you back in the green room for a sec, Frank, and you can figure that out, and maybe we can instruct you on some tricks of the trade. It's never easy streaming, and always there's challenges. We've got Brown. What does that say? Brown Star Liquor says, Larry, you reported all week that Jordan Watkins would have a big role in the game plan. Oh, he had a huge role. You didn't like Jordan Watkins? He was happy. I thought Watkins he gets my game ball. Are you kidding me? No, I mean, very surprised. And we'll ask JD about this, because I know JD mentioned it. He was a little surprised, but Nick Martin, Jordan Watkins, Jordan James, Jordan Jefferson, Brock Purdy, Austin Pleasance, and Drew Moss were the inactives. So, I mean, Nick Martin is going to be a starter someday. Watkins is going to be a starter someday. Jordan James potentially could be a starter someday. So it's not really about like talent or this or that. It's just about a matter of, guys get opportunities and the veteran guys oftentimes get the first opportunities. So we'll see. I mean, I'll say this: Jordan Watkins at practice had a significant role. He was running with the ones at wide receiver. Now Jennings didn't practice a lot this week, so it was Pearsall and Watkins. But I think Watkins is getting close. And believe me when I say this, when he gets on the field and you see what he produces, there's going to be, especially if it takes a number of weeks, there's going to be people going, where was this guy? Where's this guy been? Why have you been hiding this guy? I think that wait until he gets out there, and your guys are going to be like, I think there'll be a lot of people going, Kyle, why do you regret not using Jordan Watkins earlier in the year? I just really think he's a combination of refined and he has these big time traits. And I think he's going to be really, really good. So we'll see. I mean, the rookie thing, some rookies, they force feed them out of need, right? Out of necessity. Upton Stout, you're starting. You're going to play a ton of snaps, Mikael Williams, you're starting, it's like, but I'm a little raw. I don't know, it doesn't matter. Robert Saleh kind of admitted to us last week. It was like, yeah, when Mikael Williams knows, where he's supposed to be and what he's supposed to do, he's really good. In other words, he doesn't always know where he's supposed to be. He doesn't always know what he's supposed to do. That's kind of his way of saying it. But the Niners don't have any choice, right? Because out of necessity, they got to get those guys out there. Other positions like wide receiver with Watkins, like linebacker with Nick Martin. I mean, these guys are good enough right now to play in the NFL. But it's a loaded. Their position's a little bit more loaded, and they're going to have to, get in where you fit in, so to speak. All right, we'll see if we can bring Frank back. Frank, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can.
Oh, we can hear you as well. What'd you think,
Excellent.
Frank? What'd you think? Nice little win by Mac Jones. Nice little win for the 49ers. They led 16-7 at half, and they wind up with a 26-21 win. What'd you think of it?
As you know, I grew up a New York Giants Parcells fan, and if you put take the red uniform off of the gold of 49ers and you put the white and blue of the vintage 1990s New York Giants, that's how they look. I mean, they play complementary football. You mentioned that a lot of these rookie guys are not on the field yet, and it's because the 49ers don't want to make any mistakes. Salas is a guy that really preaches, lack of mistakes. And you watch this team play, and positionally, most of the guys were in the right position. The top players played like top players. Mac Jones looked like the player that we watched at Alabama that allowed him to be a first-round pick. This was an awesome win for the 49ers, and give the Saints some respect because they played well enough to win, but the 49ers played like a team that's going to be in the playoffs this year.
100%. One of the Saints that I thought had a great game. You tell me what you think. Carl Granderson was messing the game up at one point. I think coming out of half, he had the strip fumble on Mac Jones. He had a number of big tackles coming off the edge. A guy that, where did he come from? Because I know the name, but he was a great player today. Definitely made an impact.
Yeah, I mean, Granderson's a veteran defensive end. He's a speed rusher. He's been in the league for a number of years with the Saints. It's like I'll hit his thing and see exactly he played. That's right. He played at Wyoming. So, and he's a long rusher and he's like 255 pounds, but he's like on a 6'6" frame and he's just, he's not old. He's in the prime of his career and he can hunt quarterbacks. I was really fearful in this game that maybe Trent Williams wouldn't play. I mean, I think that was another indicator. It's like we all just need to pump the brakes on the Trent Williams concerns about, Trent this, Trent that. Trent didn't practice this week, Frank, and it's like, there's some guys that they don't need to practice, and it's like the rule of thumb is if you don't practice Thursday or Friday, you typically don't play in the NFL. But Trent Williams has his own rules. Everybody's got one locker. He's got three. I joked with one of the players that walking over to Trent's compared to the other lockers, it's like everybody, it's like a house that Everybody else just has a regular driveway, and Trent's got like that circular driveway that you can drive in one end and drive out the other end. I mean, it's like when you have the circular driveway, you're rolling flush, and that's Trent. He didn't practice all week, Frank, and yet it didn't seem like he mattered. He played pretty well.
Played very well, and I think the standard that he set permeated throughout the offensive line. I remember listening to you talk about the offensive line ad nauseum in the offseason leading up to the start of the season. And collectively, those guys played good football today. They gave Mac Jones a clean pocket. He didn't really get hurt. He got sacked a couple of times. But overall, I was very happy with the offensive line, both from the running perspective and in pass protection. So, yeah, I mean, big-time players find a way to show up and get the job done. That's why they paid the salaries that they get paid.
One thing that I thought was, the storyline coming into this was, what were the receivers going to be? What was the offense going to be without Kittle? Juwan Jennings obviously played targets. Pearsall had 6 targets, but he had a number of big catches. I thought Pearsall he's coming into form. Like, we're watching Pearsall. I mean, I know you guys were there you were there at practice all summer long, and all the reporting was that he's wide receiver 1, this, that, and the other, but he's starting to look like a significant piece in this offense. I like the way he snaps his routes. He has good hands. I like what I saw from Pearsall today.
The thing about Pearsall and I talked to him in the locker room afterwards, and he's like, hey, man, we're repping it on the field, and it's great to have guys like Jennings and Bourne and these veterans out there. But what I noticed from him is that, he had 4 catches last week. He had 4 more this week. He had 4 on 6 targets, so it's pretty efficient, You get thrown 6 balls all day, you catch 4 for 56 yards. I also asked him about, because it seems like the 49er quarterbacks, whether it be Brock Purdy or Mac Jones, they're really good in that intermediate range. And it seems like the route that they love, and we've seen it a bunch already this year, is the corner route. And if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Why? Because if you overthrow the corner route, it falls, next to the head coach's feet, right? Yep. If you overthrow a pass in a slant, it could be a pick 6. If you overthrow a post, it could be a pick 6. If you overthrow the ball in the middle of the field, you could, that's not a safe throw. So I kind of like how Shanahan in the early going, and obviously you're not going to lean on one route all year. I mean, it's just something but I like the idea of the kinds of routes and the kinds of chances they're taking. Like, for example, they like the corner route. And how about the Mac Jones touchdown to CMC, where he's got him on kind of a drag along the baseline there in the back of the end zone. And he's got the defender trailing him, right? And he's leading him. And it's like, that ball's either going to be caught by CMC or it's going to fall incomplete. There's no turnover possibility. If you look at Mac Jones all summer, he looked great. 81% completion percentage. He looked great in the preseason, great in practice, great in the practice against Denver. He looked really good. Plays on time, throws accurate, spreads it around, looks really good. Drops the deep ball in. His bugaboo, if you look at his stats, are interceptions. So for Shanahan to kind of devise route combinations that at least give him an option to complete it or have it be incomplete, but really, kind of a low interception pass attempt. I think that's underrated. I think that's an underrated aspect of this thing. And I loved the fact that Mac really did. I mean, he did a couple times, but for the most part, he didn't put the ball in harm's way.
No, he didn't. And I think the other thing to complement what you're saying about his decision-making is he has a network of receivers that are sure-handed guys. I mean, one of the things that Ricky Pearsall is starting to establish is not only that he's a good player, he's pretty athletic, but if it's in his area, he catches the ball. I love that. Juwan Jennings, after not practicing, for the entire minicamp, he catches most of the balls. He had a couple of passes that kind of slipped away that were pretty tough catches, but those guys catch the ball. Even Bourne today made a nice catch in traffic that Mac Jones clearly has some comfortability with. So I think it's a combination of calling the right plays, as you said, using the sidelines, and also having guys whose primary responsibility is to catch the ball. They're not crazy burners, but they catch the ball and they run after the catch. And I think that's the 49ers offense. It really is.
Yeah. In terms of, Mac Jones, I think one thing that has to be said is that he was not, like, even though we're playing the Saints, even though the 49ers are playing the Saints are one of the worst teams in the league. It wasn't a layup. Like, he wasn't given all the weapons. No Kittle. Ayuk, obviously. Juwan Jennings is, questionable, but obviously he played.
Trent Williams didn't practice all week.
Yeah, he was getting pressured a decent amount, not like like the Seahawks, but still, they just don't have all their weapons. And obviously CMC was there. So, I like the performance from Mac, but in the end, I think I saw someone comment, he ain't no Brock. He's definitely not Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy within this offense just looks a little bit more crisper. His throws are just a little bit more decisive. The offense moves a lot more smoother. And Brock doesn't have the same overthrows. I thought Mac had 5 or 6 balls that just sailed on him where he had an open receiver. And in tight games where your opponent is just as good, if not better than you in every way, that might be the difference. So Mac Jones, gets the win and holds the Niners off from getting into the losing column. But Brock Purdy, for sure, still your guy.
Well, it's interesting too. It's like there are, and I was joking about this, but I was only part joking. Obviously the Niners have committed to Brock Purdy. They gave him a $265 million contract. They've committed, but there are degrees of everything, and if Mac Jones comes in and plays at a certain level, this is sports. This is pro sports. I mean, Alex Smith didn't do anything wrong in the 2013 season. He played really well. Oh, but Kaepernick came in, he played better, and he was more dynamic. And Harbaugh went with Kaepernick in the playoffs, and we all know what happened. They got to the Super Bowl and they lost it. Would they have gotten to the Super Bowl with Alex Smith? I don't know. Would they have won the Super Bowl with Alex Smith? I don't know. It's all kind of conjecture at this point. But I think in some ways the Niners got the perfect trip from Mac Jones. Why? Okay, because he was just good enough to give the team confidence that, we can win games with this guy. Mm-hmm. He completed 67% of his passes on the road for about 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, sacked 3 times, did fumble once. By the way, right before the sack strip, I'm like, Mac Jones is looking great. I mean, I literally said that to Kev, and I'm like, God dang it. The next play, strip, sack, fumble. I'm like, oh my God, I caused that by patting this guy in the back. But Kev and Frank, I just think this was the perfect game for the Niners, because you went on the road, you got to win. You proved that you needed all 3 phases to get the win. It wasn't like you could just, roll your jocks out there and say, hey, we're the Niners. But you got to win on the road against a Saints team that lost last week and was hungry. And Mac played well, and he spread the ball around, and he didn't make tons of mistakes. And I think he gave the team confidence that they can win with him. But he also was just limited enough where I don't think there's going to be a drumbeat of replace Brock with Mac. Now, who knows? There's some crazy content creators. There's some crazy media people. There's some crazy fans. There's some crazy national writers and national pundits. And who knows? Somebody's going to look at those stats. If you're a box score guy, you're going to look at that and be like, Mac Jones, 3 touchdowns, almost 300 yards, no picks. Hey, is Mac better than Brock? But I kind of think that it was perfect, because he was good enough to show the players, hey man, we can win with this guy. But he was just limited enough to keep the fan base from calling for a mutiny and getting rid of Purdy. What do you guys think, Frank? What do you think?
Yeah, I think in professional football, if you are a top tier backup quarterback, you're basically a starter. So from Mac Jones' perspective, I think he's just happy to be in an organization where he knows that he's going to be coached up. He's going to have an opportunity to win. And he's like Sam Darnold. He's looking for the next opportunity. I don't think he has any vision whatsoever of being the 49ers starting quarterback long term. But he realizes that he matters and he's important. And he's going to be treated like someone should be respected that starts for a football team. So I love to have that narrow space between the starter and the backup. And I think that's what the 49ers have. I wanted to talk to you because it looked like Kyle Shanahan was calling the plays to me. I'm watching him on television saying he's not the offensive coordinator, but he damn sure looked like he was calling the plays. I mean, was he? Is he?
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan's calling the plays.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been instances where he's let Kubiak call the plays.
Right.
And I'm actually an advocate for that just because, you know what? This league is people want to win badly in this league, and they will go to great extents to try to turn off your water. And if you have tendencies, I mean, one of the things you got to do in this league is you got to scout your opponent, and then you got to go with your quality control guys and really, really, really well scout yourself.
Right.
You have to know a good head coach and a good play caller, whether it be an offensive coach or a defensive coach, knows exactly what he wants to do. And he also knows exactly what the opposing coach thinks he's going to do. And you have to have both. You can't just scout your opponent. Oh, we're going to scout our opponent and worry about ourselves. No. You're going to scout your opponent and you're going to scout yourself. And you're a really smart coach. You're going to know what that other team is thinking. And that's how you get into their headsets. You know, when I was in the Canadian League, we had guys that would sit in the box and with binoculars, like multiple guys, 3 or 4 guys on our staff would sit in the box, and their job was to try to pick off signals, try to pick off signs. There's a lot of signs given in football, and we had guys who were really good at it, and there was a real advantage. I mean, to me, the fact that we had so many guys looking to do that showed that our coach, who was Kay Stevenson at the time, a former NFL head coach, saw real value in trying to steal signals. So, the old, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, but it's not cheating to like get on binoculars and look at other teams. But yeah, you want to get a good idea for what they're doing. You want to have a good idea of what you do a lot on this down, on that down, in this scenario, and that scenario, because then you can guess along with what they're going to like. For example, in this game, I thought one of the real X's and O's things that happened is that the Saints in week 1 got gashed. Arizona ran for 5-4 at carry. So I think it was reasonable to expect that the Saints were going to watch that film and hammer that all week long. Demario Davis, we got to be better against the run. We got to be better against the run. So what did Shanahan do in the first drive? He came out throwing the ball. You look at that Mac Jones bootleg, threw it away on the first play. Jones threw to Tongas in the flat on the second play. Jones threw the Jennings, and Alontae Taylor got the PBU. They came out pass, and it didn't work, and they were forced to punt after going 3 and out. But it just kind of goes to show you there's a little gamesmanship. They think we're going to do this. They're expecting us to try that. Let's do this. So it's so much about keeping the opposition on their toes and not allowing them to kind of know what you're going to do ahead of time.
Yeah, I love the game that Shanahan called today. And if I'm a player on this team now watching Mac Jones play as well as he did today, I have a lot of confidence. I also have tremendous confidence from a fan's perspective that I know that this defense can go out and inflict their will on the opposition in ways that I knew they couldn't do last year. If we do this right, then maybe we can win. This is a ferocious front seven. I think they're a little leaky on the back end. They made enough plays, to win the football game, but they're putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. The linebackers are tackling, and it really complements the offense. You don't have to do a whole lot. You just need to make the right plays, and that's what they're doing right now.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about during the game, and I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this, but there was a play. I think it was Juwan Johnson with a go ball. He just went up and grabbed it over. I think it was Marquise Siegel, and a thought just popped in my head. I was just thinking, the Niners have found a lot of good value in the defensive backs on their team, drafting late, smaller guys from schools that maybe they're not the hottest prospect. Diamador Lenore wasn't the biggest name coming out. Siegel wasn't the biggest name. Stout wasn't the biggest name. They're all these undersized guys that are feisty, and good corners, but they're all under 6 foot. So I wonder if we're going to see some teams that have some bigger receivers, bigger tight ends try to do that a little bit more, where they throw the ball up and try to catch it on top of them.
It's a good question. It's a good question. Renardo Green on that first series, basically had the penalty and then gave up the what would have been a touchdown to Olave. And that's kind of like was my point at the beginning, is I kind of feel like the Saints came out and weren't sharp. Olave drops the touchdown. They had a number of drops today, and then they had 4 or 5 penalties early. So I thought the Saints didn't necessarily look all that sharp. But credit the 49ers, because, to win in the NFL is difficult, period. And to win with your backup quarterback is really difficult. And, I don't know. It's kind of like watching, when I watch a Mac Jones step in there, it's kind of like watching the Warriors without Steph. It's like you got to figure out a new way to win, right? It's like Steph Curry. You can play one way with Steph Curry, but then when he's not there, you can't play that same way, and you have to play differently. So, and I think there's something to be said for the exact same thing with Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. With Brock Purdy, he's got such mobility, such escapability, that you've got all kinds of things that you can do as far as moving the pocket and bootleg action, and just knowing that he'll be able to extend plays. With Jones, I think you need more defined reads and let him know, hey, I'm going here or there. Not that he doesn't process, but he doesn't have that second level mobility that Purdy has. So it's a different kind of a plan. And I'm sure Chris Foerster got into the ears of his offensive line and said, hey, guys, we just gave up 5 hits to one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league. And this team's coming off a game where they just sacked Kyler Murray 5 times. We're going to put Mac Jones back there. We can't have 12 sacks. We can't have Mac Jones knocked out, and all of a sudden we're going with Adrian Martinez. And I thought that offensive line really stepped up, and then they got a bad break early. Barch went out early. Barch went down. Yeah, and Barch has been hurt pretty consistently. Barch went down on the second drive. They had to go to Connor Colby, a rookie from Iowa, on the second drive, and he played the rest of the game, and he played really well. So good team win. Good team win. I think the running backs are feeling good. I think the receivers are feeling good. I think Mac's feeling good. I think the offensive line should be feeling good. Mikell and the rookies up front should feel good. Upton Stout, I thought, played well. Fred Warner had a tremendous game. So Eddie Pinheiro missed a PAT. Oh my God. When he missed that PAT, welcome to right. I was like, Jake Moody is somewhere high-fiving, but probably not. Jake's in Chicago saying, get me a deep dish and let me stay on the practice squad. It was good to see Pinheiro make the 44-yarder, but I did find a little, you got to be effing kidding me when he missed that PAT.
Yeah, it's just comical at this point when the press box was. Everyone's looking around like, oh, come on, like because it's just hilarious. But Pinheiro looked good. I think he hit 2 from 44 down the middle, not off to the left, barely going through the uprights. They were pretty. I can't see as well from the TV copy, but or from the box, but they looked pretty good. But yeah, this team last year it felt like they were inventing ways to lose. They were finding ways to creatively lose each and every game. This year, maybe not the exact opposite of that, but they're winning despite things not going their way. Players are not healthy, people are missing, things are changing, the backup quarterback, and they're still winning. So that's what good teams do. The Packers last year, they went without Jordan Love, and everyone thought they were going to lose, and they won with Malik Willis. So it's like, this is what good teams do. They win despite things not going in their way, and great team win.
Yeah, I'm just a guy that I really believe that defense wins. And when you look at all those vintage 49er teams throughout history, going back to the 49ers, Joe Montana and Steve Young and those guys, they always had a ferocious defense. As good as they were offensively, defensively, they had stars. And when they played against good teams or bad teams, when they needed to make stops, they were able to do it. In the first 2 weeks of this season, the first 2 games, the 49ers defense looks a lot better. And I think a lot of it has to do with coaching and alignment. I mean, you see like D Winters flying to the ball. I mean, you know, we didn't see that last year. Even
He looks good.
Even Lenore, he got beat in the flat, and the guy was trying to get out of bounds. He muscled up and made sure he didn't go out of bounds. That was a big play at the end. So I see better tackling. I see ferocious hitting, and I see a standard that wasn't there last year, and you can win with that.
Yeah, the defense showed up, and I said this earlier in the show, but I'm pretty sure my mic was muted, so I'll just repeat it. D Winters looks like a different player. He looks much faster. He's diagnosing much better. He's making big hits, and he's staying under control while playing super fast. I think, you know, when the PFF scores come out later, and as we go through the tape again, I think one of the storylines coming out of this game is going to be D Winters is emerging as the Niners LB2, because Fred Warner's playing like a Hall of Famer. We saw Fred Warner today force the fumble. He's playing like a Hall of Famer. D Winters is flying around, and with Fred Warner and D Winters, their east-west ability, it's game changing. If you can get east-west, you're not going to get those deep, you know, you break a seam and you run for 60 yards. If you can get east-west, you know, guys like Kamara, they can't catch a little dump off pass and run up the sideline because your linebackers are running 4.7. Both of those guys run fast and they play faster. So I thought D Winters really showed up today in a big way.
Yeah. That's a good call. Winters has been spectacular all summer. One non-super here. We'll get to some supers, but we've got Frank. Is that Frank 6? Frank G. Frank G. He says Brock Purdy can relax and just heal up to full strength with Mac Jones and let Mac Jones cook. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of this situation. In some ways, it's like the ideal situation because Brock, you know, turf toe is, I mean, I don't know if you've ever had turf toe, Frank, but turf toe is like a partial dislocation. It can be career ending. It can be season ending. It can be very, very serious if not given proper rest. And so it's like, you got to give this guy, if he does have legit turf toe,
just sign him.
You just signed him for
quarterback. You can't ruin his toe for the rest of his life.
Right. And also, he's, you know, you just signed $265 million quarterback. But the nice thing is, it's like, he knows that he's got the job because of that contract, right? So maybe in the past, you know, he would have said, I need to get in there. Or like if they hadn't signed the contract, if it was before, if it was like they were both competing, then maybe, you know, he's like, hey, I need to go. I'm going to go in week 3 because I just can't let Mac Jones win games. But now that you've taken care of Brock, now that he's got the gig, now that he's got the money and the house and all the toys and everything that comes along with getting paid $265 million, now I feel like he's going to be more honest. Now I kind of feel like he's going to be like, hey, guys, toe still hurts. Let Mac go. And with this schedule, you know, Kev and Frank, I think the Niners can just play this thing out. You know, they get Arizona next week. Was it Rams the week after that? Or who's the week after that?
Jaguars.
I mean, these are all winnable games. And I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I have no problem putting Mac Jones out there in a regular season game against virtually anybody. I'm not saying you're going to win, but you know, I think we all saw on Super Bowl Sunday, handicapping who wins an NFL game goes far, far beyond who's the quarterback. Is who's better, Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes? Well, obviously it's Patrick Mahomes. Who won the Super Bowl in a rout? Jalen Hurts. So quarterback is part of the scenario, but it's not the total scenario. It's not everything. And I feel like now, if you're the 49ers this year, so, I mean, think about it. If Mac Jones gets hurt and it's Adrian Martinez today and they lose this game, it's like, oh my God, you're 2 games in. You went to your third quarterback. You know, he's not ready. Purdy's not ready. The season's going down the toilet. Instead, Mac goes in there, plays his ass off. And now it's like these guys are right now on the bird flying back to Santa Clara. And by the way, the quick turnaround. I mean, these guys shower, change, throw the bag on a conveyor belt and sprint to the bus. And I mean, I bet you they're lifting off right now and going back home, where Kev and I are going to be here till Tuesday. You know,
not as
glamorous, but we'll probably be drinking. But either way, But I mean, they're getting on that plane and they're flying home and they're thinking, we got 2 quarterbacks we can win with. We got a young defense. I thought Mikael Williams had his bust out performance today.
He did play well.
So you got and I thought Alfred Collins made a nice play as well. The young DB Siegel and up right in the midst of the action. Stout was injured. I don't know what the injury. Yeah, but I mean, overall, I would say the difference between the vibe, the way it could have been, oh my God, you had to go to Adrian Martinez and people are losing their mind. Instead, Mac Jones gets the win. And now it's like, hey, we can win with Mac. We can win with Brock. We can win with either. We got Arizona next week. Who's going to go? It doesn't matter. We're going to win. So it's just the confidence that it probably gives the team, but not just the team, the fan base. The fan base now can sit there and just be like, all right, let's see. And let's hear from Shanahan, actually. Here's Shanahan on Mac Jones in the postgame presser. We're going to pull it up here in just a second. Kev had it a second ago. Here we go. A little bit of Mac Jones. A little bit of Kyle Shanahan talking about Mac Jones.
Mac played real well. We had a number of things we had to change up. It was a big deal losing Juice there early in the game, especially with Kittle out, just the stuff we had to do with other tight ends. So we were scrambling there for a little bit, trying to figure some things out. Thought he handled the situation well. Thought he delivered the ball real well. Obviously would like to have that fumble back. Hopefully we can get rid of it a little earlier. It didn't look like anyone was really open though. But I thought he did a hell of a job.
Yeah, there you go. A little bit of Shanahan on Mac Jones. And I thought, this is not an easy place to play. As I mentioned before, this Saints team had 5 sacks last week. The Niners, you lost their starting guard on the second series. Trent didn't practice all week. Jennings is not 100%. Debo's moved on. You don't have Kittle. You lose Juszczyk, who's kind of your backup, de facto number 2 tight end. And they still go out and I guess we shouldn't be surprised that they could put up 26 with Mac Jones. I guess maybe one thing, and I don't know, maybe we'll throw it out to you guys in the audience, what you guys think, but what do you think of this? What were we expecting to see from this 49er defense versus what we are actually seeing? You guys have a thought on that?
Well, I knew what I was going to get from Bosa. I did because because he's played well with Robert Saleh as his defensive coordinator, and I think Robert Saleh finds ways to motivate guys. Huff coming from Philly, I thought that he would be good. I didn't know that he would be able to explode and bend like he was doing today. Mikael Williams, being a rookie, kind of being a little inconsistent during the preseason, I didn't know what to expect. But what I saw from him today, I saw him bull rush the offensive lineman right into the quarterback. So when you can bull rush, even when you don't even have like your star moves down yet, and you can just inflict your physical will, I think the future is bright for him also. One thing that I saw that I expected to happen was for the 49ers to play with more intensity because of the coaching. So I wasn't surprised about that. I knew these guys would not lay down on Robert Saleh, and that in and of itself gave me the confidence to know that their front 7 was going to be better. You talked about how hurt Fred Warner was last year. I didn't know how hurt he was. He looks terrific. I didn't necessarily expect to see Dean Winters playing as well as he's playing. I'm excited about that. But I thought the defensive line would be good.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about, what do we think of this defense so far, I feel like, if you're coming to the season, if there's an optimistic side of, they're young, they're youthful, they're refreshed, there's a new defensive coordinator, and the pessimistic take would have been they're young, they're inexperienced, there's a lot of question marks. I think so far the correct take is the optimistic take. I think the Niners have kind of faster than we've expected have become a really good defense, specifically on the defensive line. I think the defensive line has, the pressure numbers. I mean, we'll see what the pressure numbers are, but Bosa's looking like prime Bosa. Mikael Williams is having a good game for the first time this season, I think. getting some pressures and making some actual plays. Kalia Davis is healthy and playing for the 49ers. Bryce Huff with the game-winning, what was it, strip for the fourth down stop. Defensive line's looking solid. Winters above expectation. I think the secondary has a lot of good young pieces. They're young and experienced. They got picked on a little bit. Green obviously could have had a touchdown caught on him, but somehow the ball was just behind Olave. So overall, yeah, I would say that this defense is coming into form faster than we expected.
It's really been interesting to watch. I think one of the most underrated aspects of great defensive play is getting off the field early, quickly. If you looked at the first half, I thought the 49ers had a really interesting game plan as far as defensively. So, like, if you look at the first half, the 49ers on the Saints' second drive, they got off the field on 6 plays. On the Saints' third drive, they got off the field after 5 plays. And on the Saints' fourth drive, they got off it was a 3 and out. And that was the drive where Upton Stout had the blitz sack on first down, which led to a 2nd and 17. And then Pinnock made a nice tackle. And then Peters had a solo tackle on 3rd and 13. So, I mean, overall, I thought the 49er defense in the first half, when this game was being hotly contested, really did a nice job at getting off the field. Now, in the second half, I thought it was a little bit more bend but don't break. But, I really liked their defensive performance overall. I thought the biggest play of the game, if you said, what was the biggest play of this entire game? I thought after Eddie Pinheiro makes the 46-yarder, after this was in the third quarter, right? Late third quarter. So Eddie Pinheiro makes the 46-yard field goal. Okay. 8-play drive, 49 yards. It's 19-14 49ers. So it's a 5-point game, but it's a 5-point game and a touchdown. Now you're behind. Saints get the ball back. It was a touchback, so they take it at the 35. And immediately Rattler scrambles on the first down play. And this is the D. Winters mistake. He popped him hard out of bounds, right? So it was a late hit. Mm-hmm. So now second play of the drive, they're already at midfield. It was they were on their own 40, or they were on the 9 or 48-yard line on the second play of that drive. And it looked like they were going in for, at worst, it was going to be, a field goal, and it's 19-17 49ers. And then all of a sudden a field goal could beat you. And they get to that 2nd and 4 play from the 9 or 30-yard line. And to me, this is what I love about Fred Warner and the level he's playing at. So Rattler goes to Kamara, okay? And Fred is just so good right now with the punch out. He's bringing the punch. Right. Yeah. And he's bringing it so consistently. And who was it? I think it might have been Pearsall that said that, hey, man, those punches hurt. He's like, he's punched out. He's tried to punch the ball out for me a couple of times, and he's hit me in the arm. He's hit me in the chest. Those punches, Fred practiced, part of his training regimen in the offseason was boxing. So he's bringing a little bit more thump. So he punches the ball out, and the ref said Kamara was ruled down by contact. And 1 second before they were about to call the next play, Shanahan and the Niners people obviously looked at it and challenged the non-fumble. And so they go to review, and they come back and they're like, yeah, it was a catch. But before he was down, Warner punched that out, and the Niners got a fumble recovery. And instead of the Saints going in for a field goal to get within 2, or possibly a touchdown to go up 2, the Niners get the ball back and immediately, drive down the field. And then 7 plays later, 3rd and 11, Jones goes to Jennings for 42 yards out on the play we were talking about before. Now it's 26-14. Now it's a 12-point game. To me, that challenge right there was freaking huge. It was a great challenge by the Niners. I don't know if they were considering maybe not challenging, but if they don't challenge that, the Saints go in for a score, And this could be a much different game. Instead, they challenge right there, and they quickly get the ball back, quickly score, and it's 26-14, and it was all over for the most part at that point. I thought that was a huge pivotal challenge by Kyle Shanahan. We welcome in the great Dan Coach Emilio. Danny, Giants Dodgers today. What happened?
It's over. I don't even know. I think it's like
blowout?
8-1 Dodgers. It might even be worse. Let me see. I turned it off, started watching the Eagles, and it's 8-1, bottom of the sixth. So
all right. Well,
anyway, you just mentioned
enough of that crap. No.
You mentioned that
everybody's leaving. Everybody's don't leave. Everybody, don't leave.
You mentioned that play. To me, replay assist has to catch that, because that was something they should have been looking at, because when it happened, I instantly thought live that looked like a fumble. And, I'm just watching the game on TV. What's replay assist doing? Because they almost botched that. Kyle shouldn't have had to challenge that.
I mean, it was close. His knee was almost down. I saw some people arguing whether or not Kyle should have challenged that, but that challenge could have saved the game. I think you have to challenge there, because that's one of the most pivotal, can't say the word, pivotal moments of the game. If they're going to get points on that drive, you take it away from them. Yeah. I mean, I'm challenging that 10 times out of 10. But yeah, I mean, you can't really leave anything up to replay assist. I don't really know how it works. It seems like it randomly comes in.
When they want it to, it works.
Were they going to get the review there, even if Kyle hadn't done anything, haven't said anything? Because it looked like the Niners needed a challenge there. But I agree with you. Aren't all turnovers reviewed up in the box?
Well, it wasn't ruled a turnover. It was ruled
that's right,
a complete pass.
Right. Okay, but it was potentially a turnover.
That doesn't mean that they can review it.
So if they had ruled it a turnover, they would have reviewed it. But since they ruled it a catch and no turnover.
But they said on the TV they threw the bean bag, which means that
the challenge
they're going to be a review possibly.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got you.
Like, was it? There was question of was it a completion because did he have it long enough, or was it a fumble? And then they just didn't do nothing.
Yeah. I mean, thank God it worked out in the Niners' favor, because I mean, we're looking at a bunch of different things here. That is the turning point. Like, if they go down there, score a touchdown, it's a completely different game. What would the score been then? It would have been
21-19.
Yeah.
Niners would have needed an Eddie Pinheiro field goal from a guy who had missed a PAT. What did you think of that, Danny? As a former kicker, what did you think of the Pinheiro miss? Do you want to critique?
Yeah, it's interesting because they're kicking from the right hash, which is, he must like it there because he made the rest of his PATs from that hash. But
we should remind people that it's Dan Leo, but he changed his name. He's formerly known as Ephraim Herrera.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Herrera.
Yeah. No, I just thought when he missed that, I thought, oh boy, here we go. But his field goals were money. They were right down the middle. And
it looks so good too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you guys. I felt so good the other day in the locker room. I'm standing right next to Eddie, and I said, Eddie, are you a little bit more like mentally durable as an 8-year vet or whatever he is, as opposed to like when you came into the league, as far as, the failure rate of this thing? I mean, it's pro sports, but it's the ultimate. It's almost like golf. It's so mental, right? To be good at kick. I mean, guys mentally lose it. I mean, I think what we saw with Jake Moody is he lost his confidence. Mm-hmm. So you lose it mentally, you lose confidence, and it's like, you're done. You're cooked. And, Eddie said something. He's like, yeah, I've been in this league a long time. He's like, it's real basic. He's like, you just make kicks or you're gone. And he laughed at that. He's like, but I mean, seriously, you have to have, I can remember when somebody, I was in broadcasting. I was like 20, 25, 26 for the first time, maybe 27. And somebody said to me, who'd been in broadcasting forever, you haven't made it in broadcasting, kid, till you've been fired. And I'm like, I won't be fired. He's like, oh, yeah, you'll be fired. And I go, no, I won't be fired. I mean, you don't understand. I'm a hard worker. I work hard. I'm going to get there early. I'm going to stay late. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to have success. But I'm not going to be fired. And the guy's like, oh yeah, you'll be fired. Well, and it really pissed me off. So I went home. We're having this argument about it. And I'm like, yeah, this guy at work said I'm going to be fired someday. And I haven't made it. And the guy's like, well, maybe he's lived a little and this and that. There's something to be said for, thinking of the worst thing, especially in a high pressure thing like kicking. Think of the worst thing you could possibly imagine. I'm going to miss this kick. My team's going to cut me. No team's going to sign me. And I'm going to be out of a football career. Okay, that's the worst it can be. Well, guess what?
And there's no food for my kids.
I got no place to go and we're on the street. Yeah, I mean, it's like exactly all that comes with that. But I mean, Eddie Pinheiro is like, hey, you know what? He's an 8-year vet. So he knows the reality and he's gotten used to it. And I don't think Jake Moody has. And I know that's like, it's all conjecture on my part. And believe me, I don't have answers. I'm just giving you my honest thoughts. But you could see the weight of the misses and the struggles on the shoulders of Jake Moody, on the look on his face. And he definitely was losing confidence and the team was losing confidence in him. And I just think with Eddie, it's like, you know what? He's got it all in perspective. He can laugh about the thing that could possibly happen is that you miss kicks and get cut. And it gives him a level of durability emotionally and mentally that I think is going to really be a great thing. And I'll say this, I really believe this. I think the Niners lucked out huge. I think they should have cut Jake Moody 3-4 weeks ago. I think they lucked out that one of the highest percentage make kickers in the history of the league was out there on the beach and ready to be signed. What if he signs with Carolina or Philly or some one of these teams and he's not there and you're just looking at just garbage kickers? Instead, you got one of the best kickers going. And wouldn't it be amazing if he just had a phenomenal year and was kicking in Super Bowl 60 at Levi's? I mean, it would be an incredible story.
Yeah, that would be great.
That's what made the whole Jake Moody thing so crazy in the first place. Is like we're sitting here watching Jake Moody miss left and right when we know that there's kickers that can do it. It's not like he's your starting corner and there's no starting corners available in free agency. It's like there's 5 guys sitting at home right now that can play better than Jake Moody. But it's all over now. So we can.
The kicking game's interesting though because Kyle did have a word. You may not seen it at the game there, guys, but Kyle looked like he had a word with Pinheiro on the sideline after he kicked the ball too deep into the end zone, and the ball comes out to the 35, and the next kick. It was down to about the 8, I think. He said,
yeah, it's not about your big leg. It's about the touch of dropping it somewhere between inside the 10, but inside 5 yards within the end zone.
Right.
Because you want to lure them to come out.
I want to point this out because the 49ers special teams still have some work to do. I don't know I think it was Garendo. What are you doing running the ball 5 to 6 yards deep into the end zone on a kickoff when you run it out earlier and got to just over the 20 and he gets tackled at the 22? It's like, what are you thinking? These guys are already, at the 40-yard line. Once you catch it, they're coming forward. And the 49ers started at the 22. Anytime the ball goes into the end zone, do not run it back unless it's an urgent type situation where you need a touchdown on the kickoff return because you're getting the ball at the 35. The NFL is practically handing you points. I mean, it's ridiculous to try and run it out when it's 5 to 7 yards deep in the end zone. And I think it was Garendo, wasn't it, that ran that one back?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
It was
Garendo. Sorry, I was on mute there. Yeah,
I don't know what he's thinking.
Garendo.
What are you thinking? It's not like it's 1 yard deep and you got a decision. You're 6-7 yards deep into the end zone. He just takes it right out. And he's not the greatest guy as far, he's got great speed going forward, but he's not a lateral guy. He doesn't, have shifty moves.
Well, I think he can learn from it. I think he was trying to make a play because he's not getting on the field. He is fast, but in hindsight, I think he would draw the same conclusion that you just drew. He should have stayed in the end zone. But I do understand being a young player, seeing guys coming in, taking your minutes, thinking about your longevity with the team. He wanted to try to shine. And I'm not always against that because I've seen guys run out and fumble the ball. He didn't fumble today, so he was able to keep the ball alive. I think next time he'll bring the ball to the 35-yard line.
Speaking of that rule, did you guys see what happened in the Pittsburgh-Seattle game?
I didn't see that.
I had Seattle plus 11 in that game.
Well, Seattle had just scored a touchdown, and they were up by like 5. Pittsburgh was getting the ball back. The guy comes in and he muffs the ball. It was in the field of play, and he muffs it, and he just lets it go, roll into the end zone, and Seattle recovers it for a touchdown.
Jesus.
He was playing the old rules, like, oh, it's into the end zone, let it go.
Right.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And that's unbelievable. All right. We are gonna read some of these supers, but we do have we want to let people tell them about Sleeper. The 49er football on the Krueger show this year is presented by Sleeper. Excuse me. Take 2. 49er football on the Krueger show is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy, where you choose 2 to 8 players pregame or live and pick more or less on their projections. And if you're new to it, use the promo code Larry, and you're going to get a 100% deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit. The link is right there in the description. Terms and conditions apply. All right, this is what we went with, guys. Kev, are we winners here? We are winners. All right, we went with $5 wager to win $39.40. We went Mac Jones over 203 passing yards. I mean, more than, I should say. And he went for 279. Didn't you think that was pretty easy, that one? Then it was Kamara with 50.5 rush yards. I knew that was happening. He was definitely going to have a good rushing day. Pearsall, we went with 55.5 receiving yards. He had 56.
Wow.
We win that by a half. And McCaffrey, we had, what is that? 81.5 rush yards. And we said, you know what? He's not going to do it back to back. He's not going to have that many touches back to back. What was the total touches for CMC?
19.
13 carries and
19.
Yeah, 19, which is still a little high. But
it's not bad. It's not bad. Last week was 31, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would like it to be like, 17 to 22 in that range. So basically, we're winners. $5 we turned into $39.40 with those 4 props. So I would say we've won a few of those already. I think we've probably already won 3 or 4. So anyway, big thanks to Sleeper. Remember, use code Larry for 100% deposit match up to $100. Links right in the description. Terms apply. Helps the show and gets you rolling on the #1 sports app in America, Sleeper. And thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krueger show. All right, we're off and rolling. We are an hour and 8 minutes into our live stream. 3,000 plus people watching. As you see me and Kev sitting next to each other, we're here in New Orleans at the Superdome in the press box. Frank is in his studio and Danny's in his studio. And you guys recognize those studios because you follow these guys on YouTube. And if you don't, now is an opportunity to do exactly that. Frank, before we go any further, and Danny to follow, tell people about your channel and let's hit like. Everybody hit like and subscribe here and follow these guys. In the Dungeon Show is outstanding. Danny's hustling his butt off. Doing all kinds of great stuff as well. Niners content, Giants content. But Frank, why don't you start and tell people, where they can find you and how they can find you?
Well, yeah, you can find me like it reads on the screen. No spaces in between. In the Dungeon Show. You can follow me at Big Frank Red. And I have to be honest, I am blown away by the loyalty that I have for people who check my show out. Real content heavy. We're having a ball. I need to do a better job marketing the show, but for people who listen to it, they love it. And I love talking to them and high intelligent content, no bullshit. I like it. So follow me. We're moving up a little bit, but we can do a better job. We'll be on tonight at 9 o'clock West Coast time, and we'll probably be on for about 90 minutes. Hit me up on X at Big Frank Red. When there are intersections between society and sports, we talk about those things. We do a weekly movie review. We hit on all of the major topics in sports, and it's fun. So check us out in the Dungeon Show with Frank Red.
And I would imagine, Frank, I don't know, I know, you're real and you give people your real thoughts. Will you guys be tackling it all this stuff with Charlie Kirk, or is that just you're going to leave that alone? I mean, that obviously the intersection of society and sports and politics. I mean, that was a big story this week. Is that something that you guys will hit, or how do you feel about that?
We will definitely introduce it because, again, as you said, we are authentic, and I think it's necessary. The only thing that I will harpen on the show, because I don't think anybody should lose their life because of what their thoughts are. I think that was terrible. I feel horrible for his family. But the one thing that he said resonated with me. He tends to use facts a lot to make his points. And he said that pregnating women in the Black community and leaving them is kind of a norm. And it's kind of cultural. And the idea that a single mom without a dad in the home can't raise children successfully, that hit home for me because I'm the product of a teenage mother. I just wanted to talk about that because that's actually not true. I think that most of the challenges that teenage moms have is really about economics. It's economics and education. 2 parents in a household is better, but you can successfully raise children when you have the necessities to raise them as a single parent or with 2 parents. So we'll hit on that, but I feel really, really sad about what has transpired with regards to this guy.
And I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on it. And Danny, of course, we're so proud of what you've accomplished with your channel, and it's really all because of me. No, I'm just joking, Danny. It's all because of you.
There's a lot of truth to that.
No, I'm just BSing you. I'm BSing you. It's all because of you, Danny, and you're hustling, and you've really tell people about NorCal Sports Network.
Yeah, NorCal Sports Network. We're really pretty big on baseball. We cover every Giants post game and do a lot of stuff with the Giants in the off season, but we're not just a Giants station. That's why we called it NorCal Sports Network. We cover the Warriors as well and the 49ers. So I did a little instant reaction video about 10 minutes after today's game, put that up. But we're covering it all. Niners, Giants, Warriors, and maybe if the Sharks get good, we'll start covering the Sharks.
And we welcome in the great John Dickinson and JD. JD, give us your take. You just entered the room. We've been chopping it up, talking about this matchup. Give us your takes, man. You've been on the radio side, and they've been chopping it up on the post game. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really nice win, and anytime the 49ers can get a win, because the standard, I think, has been so high for the 49ers over the years and kind of being Super Bowl or bust, there's a certain percentage of the fan base and even the media where I think the discussion becomes kind of normalized as to, well, yeah, they won, but the Saints aren't very good and they could have won by more, and the defense was leaking oil down the stretch there before the final couple of possessions where they got two huge stops. Otherwise, they actually lose the game. I guess my overarching theme is any win when you're playing with a backup quarterback on the road, I don't care if the Saints end up 2-15, is a great win, is a really nice win. And I think when you look at Mac Jones and the way that he played, he did the thing today. He missed some throws that you would want to see him make. He did have the one turnover on a ball where you'd hope either that ball gets thrown or he can protect it and it doesn't turn into a turnover that had the potential to change the game. But he made many big time 3rd down completions in the face of it was a hostile environment it was a hostile environment both ways. When the Niners needed a big play, it was a hostile environment in the Superdome because there were tons of Niners fans there. But when the Saints needed a big play, it was a pretty good crowd their way as well. I mean, truly kind of a 50-50. So Mac Jones stands out to me first and foremost. And I think that the game was really about the Niners winning big moments in the game. Early and in the middle, I thought that the drive that they put together right before halftime, if they could have done anything coming out in the second half, would have basically ended the game. The drive that he had, the second possession, a real balanced touchdown scoring drive to put the 49ers up 6-0. But it's Fred Warner coming up with the swing play on that Kamara ball. I don't think Kamara caught the ball. Honestly, I thought that should have been incomplete. I don't think the process was ever fully completed there, but they called it a catch on the field, and he clearly was not down once you go to review. So I think from that standpoint, they got that call right. That's a great play by Fred Warner. And I think D. Winters was really good again today. The 49ers are a little vulnerable to the run. I think we saw that. There's two areas where I think they're vulnerable defensively. One is that, and Kamara is still pretty talented. He's got some juice in the tank, and I think the Saints were going to try to be committed. I thought they probably could have been more committed to running against the Niners earlier in the game than they were. I was impressed with Spencer Rattler today. I thought Spencer Rattler had a really nice game. It was funny. We were kind of having a conversation on the pregame over on KMBR on that side of things. And, Robert Saleh had some extremely high praise for Spencer Rattler on Thursday at his press conference. He said this guy's going to be a dude by the end of the year, and people don't see it yet. I can kind of see why Robert Saleh might think that, given the way that he played today. Again, not perfect. So I tend to today, and everything's different, but today I kind of give the Saints credit for sucking it up in their building with half the crowd 49er fans and playing a competitive game, even though they might not be one of the more talented teams in the NFL. But I give the 49ers credit for winning a ton of big moments early, middle, and at the end with the defense. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I'd love to hear everybody's take on it if you haven't gotten into it. What was the confidence level that the 49ers were going to get not one but two stops at the end there with a 5-point lead and the offense unable to basically put the game away by running the clock out? Given the way it had looked in the second half, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't real confident. But they got not only the one, they got the two stops that they absolutely had to have, and that's 2 weeks in a row they've gotten the big stop when a team could go down and beat them. So overarching thoughts there from me.
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say I loved both on the defense. What I'm seeing is tighter coverage and better rush, and that's a great combo, right? When you can tighten up the coverage and get to the quarterback a little bit, now you got something, and that was great to see. Now, granted, it's the Saints. I'll tell you the other quick takeaway. Just I think the Saints are going to be they're going to make an impact in this Super Bowl race, and it's probably going to be at the trade deadline because they have both Chris Olave, who I think is probably going to get swapped to another team, and after watching him today, I would say Alvin Kamara looks like if you lose a running back and you need a running back, that would be the guy to go get. There's some, he's got great contact balance. He's got a lot left. So those two guys really, really jumped out. Danny, you want to jump in and then we'll hit some supers and then we'll do our game balls and call it a night.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thought from watching it on TV, I don't know, it's different. I know you guys being there. I never felt like the Niners were in danger of really losing that game, even though it was a 1-score game. I just kind of felt like they were going to come through. Couple of nice things that look great on TV. I don't know because we get the replay. Mac Jones' touchdown pass to CMC was a thing of beauty. It was lofted just high enough over the perfect touch to land in McCaffrey's lap, and it was a beautiful pass. His other pass,
beautiful play design.
Yeah,
beautiful play design.
Yeah, a couple other things I saw. I like Kyle's play calling today. 2nd and 2 down near the goal line, the touchdown to Farrell the play fake, the play action was a beautiful thing. You thought, oh, 2nd and 2, they're going to run it up the gut, get the first down. They're inside the 5. No, he called that pass, Farrell. That was beautiful. The play, Mac Jones on TV, you could see that CMC was running an out to get the first down. It was 3rd down, I believe, on that touchdown to Jennings. And he kind of cocked it back looked like he was looking at CMC, and then he fired that dart over the middle to Jennings. Was absolutely a perfect pass, perfect touch on the ball to get it in there. And then I'll just say this, the 49ers have won the last 2 games with a huge defensive turnover at the end of the game. Bryce Huff on that play just blew past that tackle. Just, I mean, obliterate. He didn't have a chance. Guy was coming out of his stance, and Huff was past him.
The only Jones play that you left off that I thought was an absolutely huge play. On the drive you're talking about, Farrell, right? So yeah. 49ers there's no score in the game. It's first quarter, second drive, second possession. On the drive, they get to 2nd and 14 from the 41, and Jones drops back to pass. He's got nothing. There's nobody there. There's nobody open. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's going to take a sack and they're going to punt and they're out of field goal range. And, here we go. And what does Mac Jones do? He moves in the pocket. And when he saw an avenue, he took it and he rumbled for 13 yards. Now, it didn't get the first down, but it took them from a 2nd and 14 to a 3rd and 1. And they converted because CMC ran for 7 yards on 3rd and 1 from the 28. Couple plays later, Danny, that play that you're talking about, Jones off the play action to Farrell for an 11-yard pass play to go up 6-0. Of course, Eddie Pinheiro missed the PAT. But that run right there from Jones, I thought that was great because that's the element that Brock provides that he doesn't provide. And Steve Young has made this point to me many times, which is when defenses give you an avenue, as a quarterback, you absolutely have to take those yards. You have to get the yards that the defense is giving you, whether that's throwing it to somebody else, handing it to somebody, or running yourself. You have to get those yards when they're on the field. And those yards were there. The avenue was there. Everybody was covered. Partially, that's why the avenue was there, because they turned their head on the quarterback. And he ran for 13 yards and took a pretty good hit at the end of the run. So I like that. And also it just tells your linemen, especially I like a run from the quarterback early in the game that just says, hey, follow me where I'm all in. If you didn't know it, you know it. Now you know. I'm all in on this game. I think it's an awesome message to send. I love that play from Jones. And I guarantee you when they watch that play, if we ask Shanahan about that tomorrow or in the next couple of days, he's going to laugh. They're going to laugh about it. They're going to laugh about something that was said in that film study, because this guy's big and slow and lumbering, but he had a huge run on 2nd down. I thought it was a major key to keep that drive alive. All right, let's do this. Let's hit some supers, and then we'll go to our Habis Law player of the game ball situation. And thanks to everybody on these super chats. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for being involved in the show. To Big 25 says Shanahan at the end calling plays, trying not to lose instead of trying to win. The O-line looked slightly better when Colby came in for Barch. I don't know. I didn't see that as far as Shanahan. Maybe it was something the announcer said, but that wasn't my takeaway. What did you think of that, Kev?
I'm not sure what they're talking about.
I did feel like Colby did a great job in for Barch, and I think Colby's the guy there. Bill Kennedy says, where is dinner tonight? That's a good question. JD might be going to dinner with us. There was a lady in the press box that was recommending Drago, which is a sweet restaurant. They said in the Hilton. Sounds a little pricey, but you know what? It also sounds freaking amazing.
Kev got the money though. Kev can handle it, right, Kev?
Yeah, Kev's got the big cash. Yeah, it's all on Kev. But yes, dinner. We will be having dinner tonight for sure. The one thing Kev said to me, he's like, I like when I travel with you, Dad. We never miss any of our meals. I'm like, yeah, exactly. There'll be no meals missed when you're traveling with me. Fully fed. Corey Wiggs. So we went to a neighborhood bar last night at like 2:00 in the morning, and it was like probably as good a food as I think I've ever had. And it was like some hole in the wall neighborhood bar with, there was like a drunk chick like pissed and like someone wanted to start a fight with the bartender like as we're sitting there eating, and it was quite the scene. But
I'll tell you what, Larry, it was a pork belly po' boy.
Oh boy.
At about midnight last night that was also in a bar, basically in the back of the bar. They were cooking up all kinds of good stuff, and the aroma of everything going on. I mean, I could have had a second one. But
you can find like 5-star crawfish in like a gas station in Louisiana. I mean, it's crazy. Corey,
so I too had a great meal after midnight last night.
There you go. We had wings. Kev's like, I said, Kev, you hungry? He's like, no. He still had a burger. I mean, the kid gives it 100%, whether it's in every restaurant. It's like Will Clark used to say, I give it 100% every restaurant I go to. Corey Wiggs says, so Mikel isn't a bust? Opinion finally change? I just want to see production. I want to see production.
Oh, we lost the Kruegs here for a second.
But he wanted to see production.
I jumped us out of there. I'm not sure exactly what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I never said Mikel was a bust. I just said that I thought they were better players. And he doesn't have a great, well-developed rush plan. But you know what? He's really good as an interior rusher. And eventually he's going to be good as an outside rusher. I loved what I saw tonight. I mean, last week, nothing on the stat sheet, but the film showed that he played well. This week, I thought was a bust-out performance. He looked really, really good. Don't says, I thought Connor Colby played good third down. Penalties killed us, and Mikel played great too. Yep, no question. Agree with all of that. We got this one from Luigi Bertini. Can't hear you. I like to play this game with my mic where I turn it off to get more super chats. Actually works pretty well. If you're not getting the super chats you want, just turn off your mic and then we'll send you supers to wake you up. Just joking. Thomas Selman, Danny's like, hey, that's a good idea. Thomas Selman says, fantastic win. Mikel was great. Also, Colby was fantastic. Larry called it. Barch may not get his job back. Love that y'all did this trip together. Oh, yeah, we're having a good time. And thank you. We're here courtesy of Claudaddy Arcades. Check out his arcade location that just opened in Capitola Mall. It is open as we speak. You can get to Claudaddy Arcades in Capitola Mall. He's got another one opening in Visalia Mall later on this year. Claudaddy Arcades, a great follow on Instagram as well, at @Claw_Daddy_Arcades. Thank you, Claudaddy. Michael's in the house. He says Upton Stout feels Jimmy Ward-like in the slot. Guy that I would compare him to is probably who was the undersized slot? K'Wan Williams. Kind of reminds me a little bit. He's got a little bit of the K'Wan Williams there. Really tough, really small, but tough. Niner fan says, Niner fan 57, Larry, make sure you got the same Mikel Shamar energy this week. Usually on board with most takes, but not with the Shamar Mikel one. It's not an either or. It most likely is a both. I preferred Shamar to Mikel. It's not like Shamar is not producing. Shamar is producing. So it's not like, I was wrong about Shamar. No, I'm right about Shamar. Shamar's damn good. But Mikel looks like he's damn good. Eric Bachniars, Lair, what are your thoughts on Mikel, and were you impressed? I absolutely was impressed. What I really was impressed with was the motor. He really, really has dialed up that motor as far as, he keeps his feet churning, which early in camp and in his early preseason games, I kind of felt like when he didn't win, he stopped moving his feet. You got to keep moving those feet. And I think that's a big part of why he's having more success. But we'll ask Chris Eric or Sala about it if we can this week. Kev, what do you think of New Orleans, and are you enjoying your trip with your pop?
Yeah, I mean, it's sick. It's a cool place. First time had what would we have? Beignets.
Yeah, I was gonna say, gotta get those beignets. Yeah,
crazy.
Tell us your
amount.
beignet story, Larry, with all the powder all over you. Oh,
it's impossible to eat that thing without getting powdered sugar all over your face. I don't think it's. I don't think
it's an unbelievable place.
Yeah, Joey Chestnut would have a field day there. It would be crazy. But yeah, New Orleans is awesome. It's a cool town.
It's been really, really fun. And we went to LSU, Florida yesterday, so that was an experience as well. We got this one. Aldo Martinez says Brian Robinson looks like he has no juice. I just think that he is a rumbler, and he's one of those guys that once he gets past the first level and gets to the second level, he can start running over guys. But he hasn't really gotten that. He hasn't gotten into his flow yet. I talked to him a little bit.
He runs running style. Looks like he could get an extra yard or two if he lower his shoulder a little. He kind of runs straight up.
He does.
He does. He runs very much straight up, but he's a powerhouse too. This guy's really tough, but you're right. He runs straight up, and guys who run straight up take hits. I mean, for every Eric Dickerson, there's a million running back coaches going, run with body lean. Dickerson didn't need to, but everybody else does. Scat says, hey, Larry, how long until Grant Cohn starts calling for McCorkle to be the full-time starter? That's funny. That's good. I don't think so. He was right in front of us today. Bill M says, which one of you is hungover? We actually got a pretty good night's sleep last night. JD, is that you?
I definitely would not say hungover,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a fun evening, and I had a fun evening, and 6:45 this morning got here pretty quick, but we're all professionals and we get the job done.
There you go.
I'll tell you, those noon kickoffs.
There's no truth to the rumor that JD's running from the law. JD's not running from the law. Okay, go ahead, JD.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, that's one thing. In the Bay Area, we get the 10 o'clock games, obviously away games, 10 o'clock in the morning, and that's what it was. But the one thing we don't get are noon home games. And if you're in the Central Time Zone, there's a decent noon for a home game, especially in a city like New Orleans. I will say it kind of feels like all their games that they should probably be able to roll with the 3:05 or the 3:25 as opposed to the 12 noon, because that does get on you pretty quick.
No question. Kevin, the game plan was to get up super early this morning. Let's just say that didn't work, but we did get here on time. Andre Hanna says, hi, Larry. Greetings from Salah's homeland of Lebanon. Or is that Lebanon? Is he from Lebanon, or is he from Lebanon, Ohio?
Yeah.
Lebanon. Okay. Great guy. Great gutsy effort to get the dub on the road. Go Niners. Let's effing go. Thank you, Andre. There is a Lebanon, Ohio, but yes, that's not Robert Saleh. Let's see. We got another one here. This team fully healthy is a dangerous team. Ray Rogers. Niner fan 57. I was able to use the restroom and get beverages during kicking plays with confidence. There you go. That's really what Niner fans care about. We don't want to watch our kicker. We just want to have a less stressful bathroom break. Propa says these first 2 weeks are the type of games the Niners were blowing last year. An energized team with way better coaching. Good win. Yeah, I think that's well said. The Niners went 2-5, I believe, in games decided by 7 points or less last year, or 2-6 maybe. That ain't good enough. Debate 25 says McKivitz signs extension and then allows the Mac Jones fumble. It sounded like Shanahan maybe was blaming the fumble on Mac himself.
He did.
He's like, that fumble. D. Martinez says Collins. That's Alfred Collins. Collins plays without any heart, pride, or urgency. Just a disgrace to be that big and that easy to move. it's funny, D. Martinez, we gave him your address. He's going to stop by. He said, he said, we told him that you had some things you wanted to say. He's just going to stop by. He'll be by later. He's like 6'7", 330, and he sometimes gets kind of short tempered, but he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
You probably don't want to mess with guys wearing number 99 with the 49ers. They tend to get upset.
Something told me he had that last super chat text or tattooed on his forearm, and he wants to stop by later. What is this? G Dadia? Oh, G Dad 14. Mikel is clearly better inside, and it looks like the 49ers know it. He looked great today, and he's only 21. You know what? Robert Saleh opened my eyes a little bit last week when he's just like, look, we have a real plan for Mikel. And our plan is first and second down, set the edge, third down, rush from inside. Now, on draft night, there was no Bryce Huff. I almost said Aubrey Huff. There was no Bryce Huff. So it was like, is this guy going to be your edge rusher? And there was some doubt whether he had a well-developed rush plan and had moves and this and that compared. I mean, Pierce and some of those other guys are doing better off the edge, but with the Niners, like a bigger guy who can do multiple things. And Saleh made the point. The point that he made was that interior rushers are even more valuable than edge rushers. And that when you can find an interior rusher that you really like, the value of that player is really through the roof. And I thought that was a great point. And it kind of made me look at Mikel a little differently, because I've been looking at him as a challenged edge rusher without moves. And in reality, he's a run defender off the edge, and he is a talented interior rusher. And he has been overpowering all summer against the guard. And we talked about it. So I'm seeing him in a different light. And you're right. I think he's going to get more snaps as a rusher in the inside. MBA Elias says running quarterback next week. Kyler Murray, go after corners. Mark T. Engberg says Mac was fine, but Damon should face a 2-stream suspension for even suggesting that a quarterback controversy could emerge. Should we tell him that? Should we? Hey, Damon, YouTube called and they're suspending you for 2 streams. He probably might. We might. If Kev said it, maybe he'd go for it. He'd be like, "Really? Yeah." YouTube, Mr. Tube called actually,
disinformation
himself.
You're
Mr. Tube
to distribute. It's a violation of our policy for attempting to distribute misinformation to the masses.
That's awesome. Max T. Engberg. Kyle is a great coach and offensive coordinator, but as a quarterback talent evaluator, he is ass lucked into Brock, who saved his career. Well, I guess it's a little harsh. It's a little poorly timed since supposedly he wanted Mac Jones, and now he has Mac Jones, and he's won 2 games with 2 different quarterbacks. And you're talking about a guy who's been to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, for crying out loud. Thomas, I mean, if I was Kyle Shanahan and I was like wanted my Wikipedia to be adjusted, I'd like the first sentence to be like, once reached the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, that right there would be like the greatest thing anybody could ever say. Thomas Selman, that 49er dub in Seattle looks great after today. Yes, Seattle. What was the final of that one?
31-17.
Dude,
Yep.
I took the Hawks and I teased it. And so I had 11 points.
Did you guys see the returner for Seattle?
Yeah.
Let the ball. So they kicked it into.
Forgot the rule.
He forgot the rule. So they kicked it into the zone. In between the goal line and the 10-yard line, and the ball bounces into the end zone. And in the past, the ball bounces into the end zone like that, it's a touchback. But now you have to actually physically go back and grab the ball and down it and take a knee to get the touchback. And he just let the ball bounce toward the back of the end zone. And the Seahawks players down on coverage, they ran down and picked it up for a touchdown right in the back of the end zone.
Wow.
Yeah, if you look at that play, I don't know if you watched it. I saw it looked like the guy went out of bounds and then he pushed it back in bounds and someone else grabbed it. I thought it was going to be I guess that would have been a safety, right?
I can remember back in the day when the Niners played the Steelers at Candlestick, and the Steelers had Barry Foster.
A touchback would have been, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been touchback there.
On a kickoff, he didn't field the kickoff and didn't know the rule, and Niners got a score out of it. Blood Moon says Browning looked better than Joe Burrow this week and last. Wow. Blood Moon, Mac Jones is our Cooper Rush. That's it. Sammy 2.0. I think he's better than Darnold. Anthony Catania is in the house. And, of course, Anthony Catania is one of our sponsors. Check out Sharp Corners, sports cards, and collectibles. We love Sharp Corners, sports cards, and collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. And Anthony's at 831-521-5264. Let's all call Anthony right now. No, I'm just joking. Let's not blow up Anthony's phone, but Anthony's probably barbecuing and enjoying some Niner football. And he's a great follow on Instagram at Sharp Corners 831 on the gram. And he says, awesome win. Colby made the O-line a lot better. 2-0, baby. Go Niners. Bird hunting next week. Got to get us a Cardinal. Mark T. Engberg says, Kyle's play ideas are like the BBQ at Pig in a Pickle. They do run out.
20-10, by the way, Eagles over the Chiefs with 7:48 to go in the game.
So much for that Super Bowl being just that, I think this is the game that makes the Chiefs realize, you know what? Our window is also closing. I think that'll be the discussion tomorrow after Philly beats them tonight, that the you know what? It does nothing goes forever. Football's very finite. I thought Willis and Bowman were going to play together for years. 2 years later, they were both out of football. Fuji Simeon says, needed every kick from Pinheiro. Glad he made them. Yeah, no question about that. We got this one. Fuji Simeon, how was the media food, Larry? It's better at Levi's. It's better at Levi's. Right? I mean,
I had some mashed potatoes that were not mashed potatoes.
Oh, he thought first of all, Kev's like, hey, what do you think of these mashed potatoes? They were grits.
They weren't mashed potatoes. They were
Frank, he confused mashed potatoes
where you were.
Grits. We got to get Kev some fried alligator, by the way, before we get out of here.
I got some alligator stories when I lived down there. I went on an alligator hunt in a boat, and there was no gators, but there was a water moccasin chasing us. And the dude all of a sudden just gets his pistol out and starts shooting it. And then he got it. It goes to the side, goes up on the bank, and he drives the boat over, goes onto the bank, and, comes up holding this water moccasin, throws it on the boat, and the thing stunk like you wouldn't believe. Oh, my gosh. I've been looking at this, and he's like, what are you going to do with that? I'm going to eat it. I'm like, oh, geez.
I mean, it's deep Dixie down here, man. I played golf. I played golf in the mid-'90s. At a golf course here in New Orleans in July. It was me, two guys from New Orleans and one guy from Indiana. And all of a sudden on the bank of one of the little ponds there, a bunch of raccoons walked up. And I was like, what? Aren't raccoons nocturnal in California? Why it's daytime? What are they doing? The girl who is the cart girl busts out a thing of corn nuts and sits and starts feeding these raccoons corn nuts out of her hand. And I'm sitting there going, what? This girl looks like some Tulane sorority girl, and she's feeding raccoons out of her hand corn nuts. And I go, I can't believe what I'm watching. The guy from Indiana is like, what in the heck? I've never seen anything like it. Two guys from Louisiana going, oh yeah, man, down here. We have them declawed. We have them as house pets. I said, what? I said, if you invite somebody to your house in the Bay Area and you have a raccoon as a house pet, I mean, they're gonna go home and tell every single person they've ever met that you have a raccoon as a house pet. I mean, that's just not unheard of. She's like, oh yeah, man, down here.
Yeah,
Crazy.
It's a different world. I tell you,
it's a different world. It's a different world. And if you don't believe me, go watch Harold and Kumar. MSQ says 6'7". What's that? 6'7" what? 6'7".
6'7".
6'7" something. LOL.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Also, thoughts on last night's fight. I didn't even watch last night's fight. I was at LSU, Georgia, or LSU, Florida.
Canelo versus
Canelo against Crawford. Who won the fight last night?
Crawford.
Yeah, I had Crawford. Canelo, I don't think has fought anybody as good as Crawford. Harry Johnson, yes, says Renardo got cooked by Olave today. It wasn't Renardo's best day.
They went
sure.
after him early.
Yeah.
They
really did.
He was targeted. Like the and that was the other thing I was going to say, just to jump in early on the point earlier. Teams are going to make the Niners show that they can stop the run. I also think teams look at that secondary, and we look at that secondary like, wow, this is a good young core of players that are going to grow together. I think other teams look at that secondary as like, yeah, these young guys might be talented, but they haven't done it at all at the NFL level, from Renardo to Siegel to Upton Stout, all of those guys, both at the safety and corner positions. And so I think when opposing teams are looking for areas to attack the Niners, they look at that secondary, even with a quarterback that's trying to grow up in Spencer Rattler, and they say, we're going after. They went after Renardo Green.
No doubt.
It was noticeable. Like they look at the film and think this dude's somebody they can pick on. So that's something that was, I think, notable as a whole. Really everybody other than Lenore. Stout was up. He was up and down. But I think he made some plays, and there were some other plays that weren't as good, and a couple of penalties and the like. But I think that's something to monitor. And I'll admit, maybe because I've been closer to it, just because you can see a talented squad in a practice or training camp type setting or in the preseason, and you hear how everybody's kind of gassing up these young guys. It doesn't mean they're not good, but it's, game 2 or game 15 of an NFL career for a lot of these guys, which means that they're going to be viewed as potential weak links when you're talking about a guy like Fred Warner and Nick Bosa and some of these other guys on the defense.
No doubt about it.
Had the one good play. They called a penalty on him for illegal use of the hands, which was absolutely bogus. If you looked at the replay, he's running across the field and his hand kind of just touches the guy's
I thought that
back.
I thought that was bogus too.
Barely. It was like he didn't impede his route at all. It was just like he was kind of, oh, hey, there, you see that in every play almost. And they call that, and he had a nice breakup on that. But it when they showed the replay, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's getting really ticky-tack.
Earpiece fell out. Sorry about that. All right. Time for our Habis Law Player of the Game, brought to you by Habis Law, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. And today's show is partly sponsored by our good friends at Habbas Law. With more than 40 years, Omar Habbas and his son Tarek have been standing up for people in the Bay Area. They're fierce, relentless attorneys. They don't back down until justice is done. When you need an attorney, you need a good attorney. I remember my dad, who was an attorney in the San Francisco City Attorney's Office for 40 years, said, hey, if you ever need, go get a good one. Go get a good one. And there are good attorneys. There are attorneys that are not as good. And Omar Habbas and his son Tarek are fantastic attorneys, and they're rooted right here in the Bay Area with connections to institutions, Bay Area institutions like the Giants, the Earthquakes, the Sharks, Santa Clara, San Jose State. They're aligned with the Bay Area community. So if you need someone in your corner, call the firm that insurance companies are hoping that you would never call, and that's Habis Law. They will fight to make it right. Visit their website, habislaw.com. And once again, 1-800-INJURED. Thanks to Habis Law for being a proud sponsor of the Krueger Show. Thank you, Omar. Thank you, Tarek. And we're really glad to have Habis Law as part of our Krueger Show extravaganza. And here we are in New Orleans after the Niners run their record of 2-0. All right, let's go around the room. We're going to go game balls like we always do. We'll start with Kev, since you're sitting right here.
Well, actually, I'll defer to this one because I feel like I always get the easy. I get the layup because I'm always going first.
Who do you want to start?
Let's go, JD. JD always.
I'll take the layup. I never passed up a layup if the lane is there and you don't want to defend me. I'm going to take the 2 and get back on defense.
You're not going to pull back for 3?
I'm not going to pull back from 3. I'm a little old school in that form. But if you want to give me the layup, I'm going to take it. I think it's Mac Jones for all of the reasons that we've talked about here. the last couple of hours. I mean, to be a backup quarterback and go on the road. And look, this was not new territory necessarily for Mac. I mean, his 50th career start today, but a new setting and I think in a very important game for the 49ers. He didn't get off to the best start. That's the part that I keep coming back to. I mean, the Niners came out and threw it the first 3 plays of the game, which was a little bit surprising to me. And he went 0 for 3, and it was a quick punt. But he got it together and made big throw after big throw. Third down throws. The one to McCaffrey in the end zone was fantastic. The one that Jennings took for a house call. Just outstanding. He made the plays, Larry, as you mentioned, with moving a little bit to his left and creating space and making a throw. Like he commanded the game. And the number one thing he didn't do, other than the fumble, which Kyle did put the fumble on him. He said, "Hey, you hope that ball is out quicker." He went on to say after kind of putting it on Mac, and Mac can hold the ball a little bit too long at times, which can lead to turns, but he didn't make the catastrophic play. It didn't turn. That play did not become a fumble 6. He didn't throw one to a corner that he didn't see, that made a break on it and took it back the other way for a touchdown. He really commanded the game. And look, I was having the conversation with Copes on the KMBR postgame show with Adam Copeland. And I said, hey, just hear me out on this, because we were having I said, hey, if this was the Super Bowl, right? Obviously it's not. But I said, hey, if this was the Super Bowl today and the 49ers won this game 26-21, who would the MVP of the game be? It'd be Mac Jones. So to me,
wow.
And all right, now we can remove
JD is suggesting that Mac Jones is a future Super Bowl MVP.
Now we can remove ourselves from the fantasy land. But it's just sometimes that's always kind of my go-to for when I'm looking to just simplify and make sure you're making the point that that needs to be made, in addition to kind of getting in the weeds. So I'll give Mac Jones his nod for the day that he had, and I'll give the line one more time. 26 of 39 for 279 and 3 touchdowns. That is no interceptions. He did have the fumble. That's an outstanding day. Mac Jones.
Not only that, to me, there's one more stat that is also a quarterback stat, and it's third down conversions.
Yes.
And if you look at third down conversions,
8 of 15. 8 of 15 for the Niners.
8 of 15 is that's a good number.
Nice.
That's a really
great
good number.
Yeah.
Danny, fire away. Who gets your game ball?
Well, since JD took the quarterback, I've always wanted to try and pronounce this. I'm going to go with the quarterback, Jaron Kewe Sagapulutele for Cal. Okay, no.
All right, that's a timeout. I haven't done this in a while, but I don't like to do this. It's not something I often do. But Danny, you're muted. That's awful. I mean, that ridiculous take. It was a ridiculous take, and that kid is a fantastic quarterback, and it's just wrong that he got your name correct. Just remember that. All right, we'll come back to Dan as as my mom used to say, "Hey Larry, just sit there and think about it. Just sit there and think about it." Carol Krueger, she's up there. Mom, I know. All right, I'm making Danny sit there and think about it. Danny, as my mom used to say to me when I was 7 years old, Larry, you're on the punishment chair. Danny, you're on the punishment.
Isn't that ironic?
Whoops.
Isn't that amazing?
You're in the punishment chair, and I'm about to accidentally take myself out of the stream again.
Unbelievable. It's amazing.
The two buttons are very close to each other.
All right, we've unmuted Danny, but we'll go to Frank anyway, and then we'll come back to Danny. Go ahead, Frank. Who gets your game ball?
Jawan Jennings, for a lot of different reasons. I've been carrying the Jawan Jennings, support football, if you will, throughout training camp. I love the compromise that the 49ers and Jawan reached. He gets to go back and be the leader of the team and have an opportunity to make some more money. And the 49ers kind of held strong to the degree that they wanted to also. So I love that compromise that I saw. And I love the fact that when Jawan came back, he's actually playing well. He looks good in practice, and he has ascended to where he should be as one of the leaders on the team. He has an impact even without talking, just by being himself. And to see him go out and actually have a great game and help his backup quarterback feel more comfortable by being reliable and ultimately scoring a touchdown, I thought that was spot on. And it bodes well for next week. It gives Ricky Pearsall an opportunity not to feel that he has to have the weight of the world on his shoulders. And it all feels good, especially with Kittle being out. So Jawan Jennings, my guy today.
That's a good one. Love JJ. He's such a money guy. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to go with Mikael Williams. The fact of the matter is this guy's got a huge amount of talent. They took him 11th overall, and it's hard to play defensive line as a rookie. Probably the most amount of time I've spent studying coaching of football is when I was in the Canadian League and I was the assistant to the defensive coordinator. And everything that he immersed himself with, he brought me along and taught me an awful lot that year. And it's just, you think of defensive line, you think of just guys just coming up out of their stance and just hunting quarterbacks, but it's an orchestrated ballet. And in reality, it's like the Niners play games up front. They stunt, they twist, they work in unison. It's four guys working as one. And Mikael Williams, they're asking him to do a very complicated thing, and that's to be an interior rusher. If you've ever looked at the guys who lead the league in sacks at the tackle position, go look at chart how much those guys make. Those guys make a ton of money. Mm-hmm. Why? Because it's really, really hard. And when you get guys like that, you pay them a ton of money. So Mikael Williams is showing that he is a force. And I thought he was a huge force today. Huge impact. Watched him a lot. And I also got to give a little bit of a side game ball to Connor Colby. I just think Connor Colby is a really good player. I think you're going to see that. My guess is that Mikael Williams will be one of the highest graded PFF defenders. And I think Connor Colby will be one of the highest graded 49er offensive players. It would not surprise me if those were the two highest graded 49er players on the day. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to go Connor Colby and Mikael Williams. Really more of a Mikael Williams than a Colby, but I got to throw Colby in there because I just really believe in that kid's future. We'll go to Kev and we'll finish up with Danny.
I'm just calling my shots. I deferred. Now I'm making my own rules. I'm giving a co-game ball to Fred Warner and D. Winters. I just think that the linebackers today showed out in different reasons, but the identity of the Niners team for the last, 2 decades or over a decade has been having two really good linebackers. And I feel like we're starting to see that storyline emerge with D. Winters and Fred Warner. Warner today, 11 tackles, 7 solo, a tackle for loss, a pass deflection, a forced fumble. D. Winters, 8 tackles, 6 solo, and just flying around the field. I love what I'm seeing from these linebackers. They're fast, they cover a lot of ground, and they hit hard. So the identity of the defense a lot of times is set by those linebackers, Fred Warner being the captain, future Hall of Famer, and D. Winters is his new sidekick. So I love the linebacker tandem the Niners have right now.
Go ahead, Danny. The look on your face sounds like Kev may have took your guy, but
he took the. I figured if he's going to go with one, I was going to go with the other. And Frank,
Danny, as a former kicker, Eddie Pinheiro is very much available.
He's still there. He's still on the board, and I was thinking of that. Frank took my guy.
Willie Adames.
Jennings took Jennings, which I was going to go with, but I screwed around with the Cal quarterback. So I will go. There's a couple guys, and there's Bryce Huff, who did have the big sack and at the end of the game. But you know what? Even though he missed an extra point, which should automatically eliminate you, I'm going to give it to Pinheiro because it didn't hurt him. It never was going to come into play the way the score played out. And he went in and made 2 field goals that any kicker should have made. But being that the 49ers situation, We're not so sure if Jake Moody would have made either of those. So let's go with Panero. He put him through after the miss, put it behind him. Easy kicks right down the middle. And speaking of kicks, I don't know if you guys saw Aubrey's kick with the Cowboys today to put the game into overtime. 64 yards.
Found him in the first round. Oh, no. Actually, did I say first round? I meant a tryout camp. Not the first round. There you go. All right. Last thought on the way out the door here. We do have a couple more supers that I got to throw in here, and then we'll get out of here. Wait a second. There it is. These were just at the go ahead, Kev. Fire away on the supers, the last supers that we got. We got that one already. Oh, Kev knows what I'm talking about. The 6'7" meme. Tall 6'7" is a meme. MSQ production is code for exit the stream. LOL. Fuji Simeon. Honorary game ball goes to Fred. And that's it. All right. Last thought on the way out the door. We're 2 weeks into the NFL season. We've been looking forward to its arrival for quite a while. Is there anything that you guys saw today or from week 2 that stands out? Is there a team that you feel good about, bad about, that you feel like, oh, you know what, I thought they were good, you can bury them, or hey, I wasn't expecting this team to step up, or an individual? We'll just do one last thought before we get out of here. Anything about week 2 that jumps out to you guys? I know you probably spent a lot of time watching the Niners, so you may not have a full breakdown on everything. I'll go first if nobody has anything. To me, the best receiver in the game right now is Jamar Chase. And I don't know if you caught any of Bengals Jacksonville, but Jamar Chase is just freaking amazing. You know, it's like, is Joe Burrow make Jamar Chase? Well, maybe it's the opposite, because Jake Browning was 21 of 32 for 2 touchdowns. He did throw 3 picks, but Jamar Chase targeted 16 times today, caught 14 balls for 165 and a touchdown. Just an absolute monster. When I think of Jamar Chase going off, I think to myself, what if the Niners, instead of doing that whole Trey Lance thing, had Jamar Chase catching passes from Brock Purdy? Oh well, dare to dream. That's my thought. Does anybody have a week 2 thought that you want to share before we bolt?
I'm gonna tip my hat to Russell Wilson. This narrative in the media, and we really want to bury this guy, and I don't necessarily know why. It isn't like he's a scrub, and he came out today and drowned out the noise and played a hell of a football game. I mean, they didn't win, but I don't think anybody walked away from that game thinking that he's done. He still has the ability to throw the ball 60, 70 yards down the field and drop it in the bucket. He's not vintage Russ, but he's certainly not a bum. I think sometimes that narrative gets out there, and it's certainly not true.
I'll say this too. I mean, I've met him a couple times. I don't know that there's too many better people that I've met. I think he's fantastic. I love Russell Wilson, and I think he's a borderline Hall of Famer. Danny, you got a week 2 thought you want to share with us?
Well, other than I forgot to pick my survivor pick before 10 a.m. and pick the Ravens, which I had picked in my other survivor pool. I picked. They
won.
But I didn't pick them because it was too late. So I picked the Cardinals, and this game's coming down to a minute left.
Oh,
Cardinals lead 27-22, but the Panthers are driving for the go-ahead score. So we'll see.
The moral of the story is set an alarm clock.
Yeah. I woke up at 10:05 and I had a text. My brother said, "Oh, don't forget your survivor pick." And I looked and oh, shoot, it's too late. See what the afternoon games are like. So I thought, well, Cardinals at home against the Panthers. We'll see. But I think the Niners being 2-0, hey, look, they haven't played anything what you would call great games. But what you have to do, especially when you're going with a lot of your backups, is just win, baby, as Al Davis would say. And a win's a win in the NFL. And if they can get these early games that they should win, that's what they got to do, because I think this team's going to be a lot different in week 12 than it is in week 2 and 3.
All right. We got one more or two. JD, you got one?
Yeah, I think the Green Bay Packers look like the real deal. I know that's more of they played on Thursday, and we've kind of been watching today and everything play out. The Green Bay Packers look like a balanced, well-oiled machine, and they've done it against two good football teams in the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions. Yes, at home in both of those games, but I think they've been impressive. And the other one I was going to go with was just the fact that you look at the NFC West, and we'll see what happens at the end of this Carolina-Arizona game. But if Arizona is able to hold on, and Carolina's at the Arizona 33, but they need a touchdown to win it with a minute to go.
Let's go, Tet McMillan. Oh, sorry, Danny.
Could have 3 2-0 teams in the NFC West with the 49ers and the Rams and the Cardinals and Seattle. I think got a nice get back win to be 1-1. So we'll see what ultimate. But it looks like it's at least it might be a better division maybe than people think. And we'll see how the 49ers are able to kind of wade through that moving forward here.
Kev, we'll finish with you. You got a week 2 thought that jumps out at you?
I mean, I didn't get to watch any of the games really because we were watching the Niners game, and I feel like the 10 a.m. kickoff, you just miss all the games because you miss after the post game, all the other games kick off. But maybe the Bills got some magic this year. Maybe this is the Bills' year. They just destroyed the Jets after the Jets looked pretty good offensively last week, and they barely scored this week. Obviously, they had the miraculous comeback win against the Ravens, but they were on They were on Hard Knocks this year. Maybe it's all coming together for them.
Daniel Jones
2-0. Yeah,
Who knew, man? Daniel Jones has played really well in Indianapolis, amazingly.
Daniel Jones, and how about Mike McDaniels? What's the clock on him?
Well, it's funny. I think
jig is up.
I actually think he's a good coach. I think Tua is the issue. I don't think Tua reads coverage. And I think, there's been people that have referenced it kind of, quietly, but I think those quiet references are going to get louder as time goes on. We'll find out. But I think McDaniel's a pretty decent coach. I don't know if he's got the right guy at the quarterback spot. All right, that is going to do it for us. If you just tuned in, 49ers get a win. 26-21 here in the Superdome. It's time for us to go have dinner somewhere and wander through a neighborhood that smells like vomit. But it's going to be good anyway. But we're going to get out of here. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krueger Show. Thanks to Sleeper. Thanks to Habbas Law. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades for sending us to New Orleans. And thanks to everybody all the super chats. Thanks for everybody in the chat. Frank, great to see you. Danny, great to see you. JD, always great to see you as well. And Kev, it's always a pleasure to have you on. And I'll just call it right here. But thanks for jumping in. If you're catching this for the first time, a lot of these guys are original OGs on the show. And we've been, this is our post-game show. We love it. And, we know sometimes Rye Smith joins us, and hopefully we'll have him back in the weeks ahead. But appreciate all these guys. Really love streaming with these guys, and that's going to do it for us. We're going to bolt for the door. Thanks to everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Krueger Show. And hit the store. Is there anything you want to mention, Kez? Hit the store. There's merch out there. You can get merch. Good time to buy it. Anyway, thanks to everybody. Have a great night. And until next time, peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon'